stepped outside, there might be ice in your area as well. So we continue to have a team of reporters that are reporting out live for us from all over the metro, just to make sure that you can safely make it to where you need to go. But let's check in now with our Kim Leffler. She is in Cumming with a look at what they've experienced here. And you know what, Kim? I bet the sun being out has made a really big difference there.
It's made a huge difference. We're currently it feels like it's 12 degrees right now, which is a huge improvement from about 3 hours ago when it felt like 6 degrees. So we will take this compared to what we saw a little bit earlier this morning. But with the sun coming out, we're also seeing some of the ice is on the roadways and also on some of the cars and on the buildings as well start to melt. We've made our way to the Cumming City Center, which is an outdoor mall area here. You can see the ice that's still remaining on this fountain. It has a kind of thin layer of ice right on the bottom there, and I just went and pressed down on that as well, and the ice almost immediately broke. So I'm sure all of that ice will also be melting here in just a little bit. Now we also have some video of some of the roadways and sidewalks from what we've been able to see as we've been driving around so far today, and the roads do look good, especially again as the sun's coming out, it's starting to melt some of that slush and ice that was on the roadways there. But the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office is still asking people, if you don't need to be out, to stay home, because especially on the roads that haven't been treated and some of the side roads or roads that are kind of more in the shade, there could still be that black ice. We do know as well that the Forsyth County School District, they are doing digital learning today, and they're going to be making up their minds about tomorrow by 5 p.m. this afternoon. But really, as we've been driving around, there aren't that many people out and about, again, because the kids are at home learning. A lot of businesses are closed. None of the businesses here in the shopping plaza where we are open. We've only seen a couple people kind of out and about walking their dogs. They didn't want to talk with us on camera. They said it was, because it was so chilly, they were kind of just doing a loop and then going right back inside. So, certainly, things are looking a lot better here in the Cumming area. And of course, as we go throughout the afternoon and temperatures continue to rise, all the ice is only going to continue to melt. But then we do have the freeze coming again later on tonight, so that caution is going to need to be taken tomorrow morning as well, Elise.
Okay, our Kim Leffler there for us in Cumming. I gotta say, what a difference. I feel like we've seen you all over the metro. I think most notably, Kim, we had you out. You were in front of Buc-ee's with just how what was happening, and now you're in Cumming, and things have changed a lot since you were first out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We were over in Calhoun, started the day yesterday over there, and it really was just rain. Made our way from Calhoun over here to Cumming after that first round came through. That's when we encountered some of those slick roads and all of that slush as well. We really saw that slush building up kind of midday yesterday. Then when we came back out this morning, roads certainly looked a lot better. The road crews all throughout this area did a great job getting those roadways cleared. We did still see a little bit of ice, but then in the, within about an hour and a half of the sun coming out today, all of that, the ice and slush started to melt there as well. So certainly we kind of have seen it all, from the rain to the ice and to now the melting with this system. But I think a lot of people here certainly breathing a bit of a sigh of relief that it wasn't any worse.
Yeah, I got to tell you, you've done a fantastic job keeping us all informed, helping to keep us safe. So Kim, thank you so much. Hope you're able to get someplace to get warm. You've certainly earned it. So Kim Leffler live for us. Kim, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Okay, someone else been out and about since the very beginning of all of this is Mark Teichner. He has seen just about everything. He has seen ice on the roads. He's seen the sludge. He has been there to experience it, and he's joining us right now in Brazelton with just a look at what folks are experiencing there. And Mark, I know you also spoke to some people who made their way out on the roads, and they answered a few questions for you, right?
Yeah, they certainly did. It was more hazardous, to say the least, when that person was driving than it is right now. I'm going to step out and show you something. This is actual dry pavement. So it's showing that the sun is doing its job. This is on the sidewalk. This was a sheet of ice earlier this morning when we were out here, and now it is already dried up, all because of the sun. And Highway 53 behind us, we're starting to see some dry spots on it as well, which is great news, as you can imagine. This was also iced up. Now, in just a few minutes ago, we did see a plow that came through, and they threw down some salt, so that'll even improve the situation here as well. Let's show you some video that we shot during the overnight hours. We've been out here since about 1 o'clock this morning, kind of trolling around, seeing what we could see. Started out on I-85, and at the time, it was about 34 degrees outside, and I-85 looked pretty good. There were some wet spots, as you can imagine, but we didn't see any icing, and we did see DOT crews that were applying salt, specifically concentrating on those bridges and overpasses, which are the first things that freeze. Then we went into downtown Braselton, and there we ran into a street that was actually closed. When we were here on the air for you folks on Fox Local on Saturday, I guess it was, it's been so long ago, when we were on Saturday morning, that street was open, but they closed it because of the ice storm. And then we went over to Cushman, which is right next to Brazelton, went into a neighborhood, and you could see that neighborhood really was iced up, at least on that stretch that we were on, and that was a big hill, so that was going to be pretty treacherous for those people to try to get out this morning, which is why they canceled school here in Jackson County. They've also canceled school in the other counties that serve the Brazelton area or went digital learning. As Elise mentioned, we did manage to talk with a driver who was braving these conditions when they were much worse than they are right now, and he was telling us about how he was getting there from Jefferson all the way to Norcross, and his advice for other people who might want to venture out.
I'm four-wheel drive on, and I'm riding about 40 miles per hour.
A little slower than usual.
Yes, sir.
What would be your recommendation for folks who are in, say, just a regular car or maybe don't know what they're doing?
I would recommend not to get out if you don't know what you're doing, because it is kind of dangerous if you don't know. I mean, the bridges are where it's mostly dangerous to drive over.
Yeah, they certainly are the most dangerous to drive over, which again is why DOT has been concentrating so much on them. The sun is really helping us out. It's currently 30 degrees here in Brazelton. We are expecting it to get to about 35. Hopefully that will get rid of all of this stuff, because as we've mentioned over and over again, the temperatures are going to drop and plummet during the overnight hours, and that means we could be facing a refreeze for the areas that do remain wet. But that's the latest from Brazelton. I'm Mark Teichner. Back to you, Elise.
Oh boy, no doubt the big concern. So Mark, thank you so much for giving us a look at the roads there in Brazelton. We appreciate you. So let's talk a little bit more about this, just the frigid cold temperatures, and like Mark mentioned, the threat of roads refreezing due to the temperatures. So we'll check in now with our meteorologist, Jonathan Stacey. He's in the studio now, just kind of giving us a look at that. But that is what a lot of people are asking, Jonathan.
That is a major concern, and an obvious concern given how frequent and how pervasive those conditions were in terms of ice up across the northwestern tier or northeastern tier of the state. That said, let's see if we can go ahead and get these monitors working for me here in the studio. If anyone is listening, that would help me out. But guess what? I've been doing this for a while. Let me see if I can fake it out. Okay, you see here the color green. That indicates that there's some wet road conditions. And once again, as Mark just mentioned to you in the live shot, basically the sunshine is helping turn what was frozen overnight into puddles this morning. And it's not because the temperature is growing quickly, but it's because the winds are kicking and that there's plenty of sunshine. But if you're perhaps moving in and about over the Tennessee Valley, crossing the state line into Georgia through Alabama, going up to Tennessee, you'll likely run into some issues in terms of the roads. Shannon, we still haven't got the monitors working in here, but in terms of the cold front, that moved through yesterday, and with that said, the winds have really started to wreak some havoc on us, but it's bringing in some really frigid air. Look at these temperatures across the heartland going all the way up into the Great Lakes. Now we're working. I like that, folks. Okay, single-digit wind chills across much of the deep south, but look at these single-digit air temperatures. In fact, negatives as you look up into Minnesota, Wisconsin, coming down to Iowa, Missouri, even as far south as southern Illinois, clocking a temperature of 1 degree there. The same for pretty much the Ohio River Valley. We're at 29 degrees here in Atlanta. The only place I want to be right now is somewhere down in central and south Florida. In terms of the temperatures across our region at this hour, you lead the way there in Lake Country at 37 degrees, 30 in Athens, 30 also for Covington, 30 in Gainesville. But back up to the north and to the west, all temperatures are still languishing somewhere in the 20s, from 22 degrees in Dalton, 29 here in Atlanta. And then you add the winds to the mix, and those winds continue to hustle and howl as they come in from the north and the west at some 19 miles an hour. It feels like it is 16 degrees here in the city. So yes, the sunshine is a bit deceptive. It is showing its face, and we need it for the melting process to continue. However, the winds are really working against our temperature growth and in terms of how the air feels to your skin. So by 4 o'clock, it feels like it's 20 degrees, feeling like 12 in Dalton, 7 in Blairsville, 17 in Gainesville, 26 in Eatonton, and then overnight we get really cold air sinking in, and the winds will start to subside a bit. They don't completely go away, but even as early as midnight, it will feel like 7 degrees here in the city, below 1 in Canton, 2 degrees Gainesville, -8 in Blairsville for a wind chill, 11 in Thomaston. Tonight is not the night that you would like to be without power. Not that you'd ever like to be without power, but tonight will be downright punishing in terms of the deep and steep drop of temperatures. Wind chill values around 1 degrees tomorrow morning in Gainesville. Tomorrow afternoon will serve to give us a taste of a warm up. It will feel better than it does in the afternoon, in contrast to the morning. Nonetheless, here's the deal. We're still going to feel like we're below freezing all day long. Wednesday night, we drop back down with feels like numbers in the teens. Can we shake it, folks? Well, I think by midweek, we're going to start to eject a little bit of warmer air in the picture, but it does not produce 50+ degree temperatures. In fact, highs are going to really just top out in the mid 40s at best as we go through the next 7-day period. Let's talk about those wind gusts. They're coming in out of the northwest, and I continue to say this, but those winds are really doing a doozy on our temperatures, and it's really capping those temperatures from climbing much higher than maybe even some 30 degrees today. Tomorrow we'll have a shot at the 40s as the winds back off a bit, but they don't completely go away, although they may soften a bit tomorrow morning. It looks like we're back possibly into the teens for wind gusts, maybe even some 20-mile-per-hour gusts popping up as we go throughout the second day of the work week. So as the kids are heading back to school, you'll need to make sure they are all bundled up. If you're going out to make a run to the grocery store, some of you have stir sickness where you're ready to get out the house, cabin fever running high, you're going to need to make sure you bundle up as you go outside. So 2 o'clock, we're at 30 degrees, 36 degrees for a high temperature. That may be a bit ambitious in terms of highs, but okay, let's see if we can try to make it there with plenty of sunshine. I think it is possible. 36 also for LaGrange. Meanwhile, up there in Blairsville, you'll only reach a high of 26 degrees. Guess what? The average high for this time of the year is 54 degrees. We are far away from the 50s, folks, and we do not even go there as of tomorrow. In fact, tonight will be the ultimate night in which temperatures have an all-out downfall into the teens and single digits. 5 degrees tomorrow morning in Blairsville, 16 in Atlanta, 16 in Thomaston. By tomorrow afternoon, I think the 30s are back in full control of the afternoon and early evening hours. 3 o'clock, we're at 39 degrees, so that means it will likely sneak in a 40+ degree temperature in, not in all communities, but in many. For Rome, 41 degrees, 40 in Noonan, 43 in Eatonton, Athens, 39 degrees. You get the picture here. Some of us will get close, but many will hit and miss. In terms of the next 7 days here, we have a lot to offer. There may be a few clouds out and about today, but more sunshine than anything. Complete sunshine in the forecast for tomorrow. Wednesday and Thursday will feature a bit more in the way of cloud cover, so could Friday. However, by Saturday, I'll be looking at the mercury here. We're struggling to get to the freezing mark of 32 degrees. And with that being said, there's a wave that's going to drift by up to the north, and we'll see what it's going to do. I'm not going to call on any type of precipitation at this moment, Elise, because I just don't have the strength in me to say
that part.
But there is possibly something that I'll have my eye on, and that's all I'm going to say.
Interesting. Well, I'm glad you said that, because I feel like, if we remember a couple days ago, the weekend looked different. The models were showing things were different. different. But now you're saying that you're not shutting down the possibility of us seeing some things. So I don't know, the wheels are turning here, Jonathan.
I'm not shutting it out. We all need some recovery time, even if it's just from forecast fatigue. And I'm not talking about meteorologists, I'm talking about the public. It's just we've been inundated with a lot of information about a pretty aggressive weather cycle. So things are going to be calm Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You don't have any worries there. It's just going to be cold and frigid. But by the weekend, I wouldn't totally turn my attention away from the weather because something could happen. And we know that the models will either underplay it or overplay it. So we'll see how the situation turns out. But at this time, there's a little bit of something and a whole lot of nothing.
Okay, we will take that. All right, Jonathan, thank you so much. We appreciate you. It's 11:15 now. I want to get you to some of the local stories that we're following. And this is one you never want to have to share this. 2 people hurt in a house fire. This was in Forest Park early this morning. So Forest Park Fire and Emergency Services responded to a big house fire. They said it was off of Dunwoody Drive. They say 2 injuries have been reported, but they haven't released any details on the conditions of folks just yet. But residents and drivers urged to try to avoid this as crews continue their operations there. I mean, as you can imagine, there's a lot to try to pick up when it comes to this. But just to dive a little bit deeper into what we know about it, officials say there were actually 6 people living in the home at the time of that fire. They say that one of the residents, a woman, had to jump from the top floor to make it to safety. So 2 people were hurt. Injuries don't appear to be life-threatening. No firefighters were hurt. Authorities are urging drivers and nearby residents to stay clear of that area because they're still having to work the scene to try to make sure it's safe. No additional details about the cause of fire or the condition of the structure have been released, but you can see there, I mean, it appears to be a total loss, but that not being the official word. But again, a terrible house fire happening there in Forest Park early this morning. So let's take a look at what's closed today. If you have children, they're probably not in school, as most of the school districts ended up shutting down. Also, churches yesterday. Church offices today. Businesses and extracurricular activities have been shut down today and in some cases tomorrow due to weather conditions. So some of the latest announcements include Zoo Atlanta, Morehouse School of Medicine, and the Georgia National Cemetery as well. So we've got a list of all of the closings, all of the delays and cancellations that have been submitted on our website, fox5atlanta.com. It is the list you need to check out before you head out. And of course, you can also download the Fox Local app, which hopefully you have that and are watching us on there. If you have plans today and not sure if they're still on, the best thing to do is reach out to the organizer of the head of that program to get you help. Or, like I said, just head to our website and see if what you're wanting to do is on that list. So let's talk a little bit more about the roads. We're going to switch areas now and head to Jackson County. That's Public Works ended up treating a lot of the roads in anticipation of what we're expecting right now. But the rain yesterday and those cold temperatures that we've been experiencing and talking about this morning have made roads a safety issue in some parts. So let's check in now with our Lexi Bowden. She's joining us live in Jackson County with how the roads are looking there in Commerce. Lexi, good morning. What are you seeing out there now? All right, doesn't look like Lexi can hear me. Let's give her just a... Lexi, if you can hear us. Hey, Lexi, if you got me right now, we're trying to get the latest on Commerce. All right, we will work on this, see if we can get something up for you and running there in Commerce. But how about this? Let's take a quick pause and we'll see you on the other side. Stick around. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for being with us here at 11:20 on this Monday. So let's talk about black ice. It's still a big concern right now in Hall County after the ice storm brought down trees and caused widespread power outages as well. So joining us now, we have our Ray Urena. He's been out there weathering the storm along with folks there. He's in the Fox 5 Storm Chaser right now. So Ray, give us an idea of where you are right now and what you're seeing at this point. I think the good news, we can all agree it's good that the sun is out and shining, because we certainly need that today.
Absolutely, and the sun is definitely doing its job right now in Gainesville. Right now, we are at the square at the heart of town. I'm just going to flip the camera here to show the outside of Storm Chaser, just to show you where we're at. If you were with us earlier, we came across this stretch of road, and it was black ice, and it looks like this conditions still in the shade are still slippery. We tried to go uphill. At one point, we had to stop for a red light, and we ended up spinning our tires on some black ice. But luckily we were able to get Storm Chaser moving. But if we go back into the sun here, you can see that what was ice has started to melt now that the sun is out. But it is still pretty cold here in Gainesville. I'm just checking our weather app right now, and it looks like it's reporting to be about 30 degrees, so just below the freezing mark here in Gainesville, but the wind is still there, so it feels like temperature is much lower. But I want to go to some Skyfox drone video that we shot just as the sun was rising. You can see that there was still a lot of ice on the roadways, but GDOT crews and Gainesville City crews, they've been doing a good job of keeping the plows going every so often, clearing out those main roadways. Though throughout the morning, a lot of the secondary roads still remain slick to this point, especially in and around the square and just off of those main roads. We spoke to a coffee shop owner. She was getting her business ready for reopening this morning at about 9 o'clock. She was actually using an unconventional tool to clear out some of the ice in front of her business. I'll let you see what it is real quick. Okay, it looks like we're having issues with that soundbite there, but her name was Summer McKenzie. She is just located just a little bit down the street. We're actually going to go drive by her coffee shop now. I'm going to flip the camera again over here, but it looks, but as you can see, the public works crews, they've been putting down a lot of anti-ice on the roadways, just getting the snow melt to get them out of the way. We also saw public works crews driving along the sidewalk, releasing some salt in order to start melting some of that ice. So her coffee shop is over here. She was over here on the left side where that white pickup truck is, just scraping that ice off of that before all the salt trucks came in. But she did want to give props to the city for helping prepare these roads and these sidewalks for all the winter weather that we did see here, Elise.
Okay, so you got to tell us, I mean, looking around from your vantage point, I'm so curious. I've been here at the station for much of the weekend. Are you seeing many folks out and about, or is this kind of a day where the streets are still pretty clear there in Gainesville?
So we are starting to see more people out and about versus yesterday. Yesterday, a lot of people were told to stay home by the Hall County Sheriff's Office, and the Hall County Sheriff's Office told us this morning that, yeah, they did stay home. They were able, and because people were able to stay home, they were able to respond to your normal run-of-the-mill calls versus responding to a bunch of traffic accidents all over the place. And as a result of that, now that the conditions are warming up, we are definitely seeing a lot more vehicles out on the roadway. We're here pulling up to Green Street and East Butler Parkway, and you can just see how many people more are on the roads. We didn't see this kind of traffic yesterday, Elise, and it just shows that people are out and about a bit more, though officials have told us that if you are out and about, just to be careful because there is still some black ice that, like we mentioned before, especially in the shady areas, that ice hasn't had the heat source available to start melting yet, Elise.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I can see Billy Heath there in the corner of your shot. So you got to tell him that the two of you are a great team, and you've done such a fantastic job of just keeping us updated and giving us live looks at the roads too. So Ray and Billy both, thank you both so much for everything you've done with all of this. We appreciate you. All right, our time now is 11:25, and one of the things that we've talked a lot about, and maybe something that you've experienced, is power outages. So let's take a look now. We're joined by Wendy Jones. She is with Jackson EMC, just for the latest on kind of what they're seeing and how this is all played out for their many customers. So Wendy, thank you so much for being on the stream with us today. Good morning. Okay, we see your lips moving, but I'm going to give you just a second. Make sure you're not muted, Wendy.
Okay, can you hear me?
There we go. Yeah, we got you. Perfect.
Okay, well, good morning.
Perfect.
I apologize for that. But yes, we are grateful that impacts across our service area were relatively limited. We did see scattered outages, obviously due to the weight of the ice on trees and lines that affected about 20,000 members during the storm. But crews were able to respond quickly. We've kept additional resources staged in case conditions worsen. Now, freezing temperatures and lingering moisture can mean we might have some more impacts showing up. So we're going to continue to monitor and stay on alert. Be ready to respond, especially as things can potentially change over the next 12 to 24 hours.
Yeah, you know, I heard you say something about 20,000 customers at one point. Do we have a count on what, I guess, the numbers of customers that are still impacted right now? You said that most of the work has been put in and they've been able to get power restored for most.
Yes, we have very, very few outages right now. Actually, I can just double check. I think it's less than 5.
Wow.
Actually, we have about 40 right now.
Okay.
But considering that we serve 274,000 meters across 10 counties in North Georgia, we're, again, very, very grateful that our impact was not higher.
Yeah, of course. I mean, what do you want to say to those who are doing the work, right, out there getting power restored? I mean, this is certainly the time that we all have to be so thankful for the work that they put in to get that power back on. Wendy.
Yes, so our crews have obviously been standing by. We were prepared all last week. We brought in additional crew members. Fortunately, we didn't need to use them that much, so they've been released to go help other folks because there's obviously outages that are remaining across the country. But we're very thankful for the work that those guys put in and all of our employees at Jackson EMC. We all have a very specific storm role to perform, but most of all, we want to thank our members for their patience. We know that outages of any type can be stressful, especially winter outages. So we just want you to make sure, rest assured, that we're ready to respond if conditions worsen.
So yeah, and speaking of that, you know, we're not out of the woods just yet when it comes to this. Refreezing is a concern. You know, you add wind into the mix as well. So what should folks do if maybe perhaps tonight they find themselves without power or moving forward? Are there steps that they should take? Is this something they report? I mean, what are the guidelines?
Yes, of course. I do want to mention that because the roads are still a little bit hazardous, all of our district offices are closed today, but we're all working remotely, and obviously our operations crews are on site. But if you do need to report an outage, you can do that at 1-800-245-4044. You can do that on our website at jacksonemc.com. You can use your mobile app, my Jackson EMC app. So please report outages. And another thing, obviously, we want to make sure that everybody stays safe. So I just want to reiterate, if you see a line down of any type, assume it's a power line, assume it's energized, and know it can be very, very dangerous. So please stay far away and report those. Also, if you're using a generator, please make sure that you're doing those safely. And if you need any assistance with that, you can go to jacksonemc.com/storm for additional information on how to do so safely.
Gosh, I'm glad you mentioned the generator. So important to remember, you know, outside, not inside, and to make sure that we're using that safely. I thought this was really interesting, what you guys are doing here with pausing service disconnections for non-payment. That started on Friday, and when does that run through, Wendy?
Yeah, so right now we're planning to run that through Thursday, the 29th. But again, that will depend on temperatures. Right now we're planning to go back to normal on Friday the 30th. But again, it will depend on the temperatures. So thank you so much for mentioning that. At least that's very important for our members to know as well.
Yeah, certainly so. And I mean, job well done to the entire Jackson EMC crew getting power back on. I mean, pretty incredible when you talk about how quickly they were able to work to get things back up and running. So Wendy, give them a high five from all of us here. And thank you so much for being on with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Elise. We appreciate you.
Our time now is 11:30, and we will be right back. Well, welcome back, y'all. 11:33 on this Monday. Let's get to some of the national headlines that we're following for you at this point. Community members gathered in Minneapolis for a vigil, and this was to remember Alex Pretty. And despite the heavy snow that they've been experiencing there in the city, people were seen lighting candles, offering flowers, and just reflecting on his life. So he's 37 years old. He was fatally shot by a federal officer on Saturday morning. Community organizer BJ Clark says the shooting has motivated him to become more proactive in the fight against President Trump's ICE crackdown in the city.
Sad is the best way I could describe it. This, like, what's going on is sick. Trump said that they're here to get the criminals or whatever, and yet they're committing most of the crimes going around, breaking and entering, kidnapping, murder. It just gave me more of a reason to get more proactive, actually, do something about it. I've been protesting for a little while now, so I know there needs to be more done than just standing in the street and yelling, but yeah, just at the very least, got motivation to just get organized.
Bureau of Criminal Apprehension agents and a few Minneapolis police cars were nearby there at the vigil. Federal officials allege that agents shot at Pretty in self-defense. They say that he was armed. They say he had a gun. Minneapolis police chief said he had a permit to carry that gun. But it's White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt who had a lengthy post on X. So she took aim at Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz, saying in part, Walz wants chaos, which is why he's repeatedly encouraged left-wing agitators to stalk and record federal officers in the middle of lawful operations. So she went on to say that's leading to officers being doxxed, targeted, impeded, and placed in extremely dangerous situations. Listen to this.
President Trump is saying, this is a part of a Truth Social, the mayor and the governor are inciting insurrection with their pompous, dangerous, and arrogant rhetoric. How close is President Trump to invoking the Insurrection Act?
You know, President Trump just wants to keep people safe, and he's applying the law and wanting to go out there and go after not just terrorists that we know were led into this country by the Biden administration, also dangerous criminals that, especially in Minneapolis, what we've been targeting is sexual predators, people who've been trafficking children. That's what this operation has been focused on, getting illegal people in this country that have been involved in that criminal activity. And then when the fraud was uncovered as well, we saw a resistance in Minneapolis like we haven't seen anywhere else in this country. In fact, encouraged by the governor at press conferences to go out and take to the streets and to resist law enforcement. It really is irresponsibility that we haven't seen out of someone in any other state.
So, Insurrection Act on the table?
You know, it's up to the president. He has the constitutional right to do that. He certainly has considered it. We've had discussions. We'll see what the best choice is to make sure that law and order is followed, but also that we're keeping people safe.
All right, just heard from Kristi Noem there, Department of Homeland Security Secretary. So let's take a look at something that's happening today. Let's take a look at the White House as we do that. So at noon, a Stop ICE terror protest is planned there in Washington, D.C., and it's really one of the many planned protests across the country just to protest the agency and show support for Preeti, the gentleman that we were just talking about moments ago, along with Renee Good and others that were affected by the growing number of immigration agents on the ground, especially in Minneapolis. So it comes ahead of Caroline Leavitt's regularly scheduled White House press briefing, and she'll likely address the protest among other topics. So that briefing is set to start at 1 p.m. and we'll be sure to bring you more coverage of that on here on the stream at 1 and 2. All right, our time is 11:37 now, and let's bring things back home. We'll take a look at Atlanta's airport, where things have been up in the air, I guess we should say, when it comes to, you know, flights leaving and making it in on time. There's been lots of delays and lots of canceled flights in light of the weather that we had here over the weekend. So let's check in now with our Caitlin Pratt. She's joining us at the airport with just how things are moving now. Looks like things are much smoother at this point. I'm not seeing chaos behind you or folks camped out on the ground, Caitlin, so I'd say that things are looking up out there.
Those are the telltale signs, right? Yes. Good morning to you, Elise. Yeah, we're heading in the right direction. It was a rough stretch, though, this weekend, that's for sure, especially yesterday, for a lot of people who found themselves simply stranded here, especially with so many hotels in the area booked up because of those stranded passengers, and also, too, questionable road conditions, so Uber, Lyft, they weren't doing a lot of runs, so people found themselves just basically here at the airport waiting for whatever was next. I did check how we're looking this morning to give you some perspective. Over the last 24 hours, there was more than 1,200 cancellations and hundreds of delays. This morning, a little more than 200 cancellations. Those made in advance, though, a lot of them, and then also more than 100 delays at this point. I want to remind you, though, that this isn't just a North Georgia, Metro Atlanta situation as far as these flights being affected is concerned. You've seen the pictures. Maybe you have family up and down the East Coast, right? Well, they've been dealing with winter weather of their own, and that, of course, is affecting flights all up and down the East Coast. We actually caught up with some folks who were detained on the West Coast trying to make their way back home, and I was so happy to catch up with them this morning. They were thrilled to be back here in Atlanta. Take a listen.
Our flight was changed 3 times. Yes. And then we had to be on the standby to catch this one to get back into Atlanta.
And you still have a smile on your face.
Yes, ma'am. The trip was fine. What we expected didn't happen, but thank God we were able to get back to Atlanta safely. So.
You have work this week too? Or?
I'm working this afternoon.
Tell me your flight situation.
My flight situation is pretty straightforward. I flew from China all the way to California and now to Georgia.
And you lucked out. No significant delays or anything like that, right?
Nope. Everything worked smoothly. Actually, things went pretty well for me.
And when you hear that so many people are having quite a different story, what do you think?
I think I got lucky and blessed.
He got lucky, that's for sure. And I did manage to have some conversations with folks here in the airport who did, yes, make it here back to the metro area. But this morning they had to wait because they had scheduled some help as far as getting back to, especially in particular, the Athens area, trying to get back home with a shuttle. And those shuttles had been canceled because of road conditions, very icy up in the Athens area, according to these neighbors I caught up with. But yes, they eventually did get on a shuttle, headed back home, and so we're starting to slowly get back to normal here as far as travel conditions go here at Atlanta's airport. That's where we're live. I'm Caitlin Pratt. Back to you, Elise.
Overall, some really good news that you're able to share. I want to ask you this question, though. You know, you mentioned that we got it, but it was all over the place. And I saw some pictures from Boston, Caitlin, and I know that that's where your family is. So how are they doing? They got like a foot of snow. A much different story than what we experienced here.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, you know my family, you know Gilbert. So he was so disappointed, and I'm sure your kiddos were too, that we didn't get snow, right? And so yesterday I FaceTimed my sister, and she turned her camera and was showing him the snow outside her door. It was so much, Elise. It was so much.
Oh,
so yeah, we didn't get to experience it. I know we didn't get to experience it, but I'm so happy, you know, that we don't have to deal with the fallout from that.
No,
because,
that's
girl,
so
we
true.
would be digging out for days.
That's so true, but I'm glad they enjoyed it, and I'm glad that Gilbert got to see, you know, FaceTime and get to see some snow. Love it. All right, Caitlin live for us out at the airport. Caitlin, thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. Our time now is 11:41, and in just a few minutes, the last thing that you want to do when you're getting out and about is slip and fall on some ice, which is a huge concern, right, with weather like what we've experienced. So we're going to talk with the doctor on ways to hopefully prevent that from happening next. (11:44) now. Welcome back, everyone. So snow and ice, it may look harmless, but get this. Doctors say it's the leading cause of serious and costly injuries this time of the year. Not to mention, I mean, it hurts. It's happened to me. It's probably happened to you as well. So it can happen in minutes or moments the second that you step outside. So we've got a doctor joining us now to talk about this. Dr. Anup Sharma, Chief Medical Officer for Medicare and Retirement at United Healthcare of Georgia. So the timing of this is really good. Dr. Sharma, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, all right, so let's dive into this. Before you head outside, so let's talk about before we even make it out of the door. How important is it for folks to take steps to protect themselves? I mean, what should we be doing to prevent ourselves from being an ice casualty?
Well, first of all, make sure we dress up for the environment that we're about to go into. We can also make sure that everything's been cleared, be it salt, sand, anything that's out there. And if we use a cane, make sure it's got a good tip. But ultimately, you want to make sure that you do stretch out a little bit, and you really do want to prevent yourself from getting hurt. So if you're going to walk outside on ice, do small steps. Make sure you've got the right shoes, hands out, so in case you need to brace yourself and balance, you can do that too.
So I got to tell on myself, because that leads into what we're talking about next. You know, you mentioned footwear, and I'm trying to think a few years back, I stepped out on my deck in some Crocs, and I was like 8 months pregnant, completely busted it. It was one of the most painful things I've ever experienced, and I will never do that again. So let's talk about what we should be looking for in footwear when it comes to, you know, icy conditions outside.
Well, you want some good, comfortable shoes. Of course, you want some good soles on them that are not that have the ability to get some grip on the ice itself. Versus sometimes you have nice shoes, but they just have no soles on them. So anything that actually allows you to have some good grip, some good sneakers will be good. But of course, warm weather boots, that'd be ideal.
Yeah, put some thought into what you're stepping out in is what I'm taking away from that. So, you know, not something we have to worry about a ton here. You know, this event over the weekend for most of us was just ice. But if the time comes and you're having to shovel snow, I mean, who should not be shoveling? I'll ask you that. And then just what's the safest way to do that? Some refreshers for us, Dr. Sharma.
It's a great question. People with heart conditions that basically, you know, a bit of exertion will put you in trouble. Those are the ones we want to avoid. Some patients with chronic lung disease this can be very challenging, including asthma too. So those are the ones. The other ones, if you get back pain easily, and when you're doing that, shoveling snow, you can actually hurt yourself. So being careful with those patient populations. Also, of course, the elderly. Have someone else do it for you.
Yeah.
It's better to have some younger people do it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So let's say, Dr. Sharma, something happens and we do end up slipping and falling. I mean, what should you do right away? And at what point do you need to seek medical care?
Just one thing, make sure you have your cell phone with you in case you do fall. And the common injuries that will occur, even if they're low level, because it doesn't take much, is make sure you don't hit your head, your wrists, your hips. So when you feel pain, that's a good way to make sure time to go get it checked out. Because again, it doesn't take much to break a hip or a wrist, especially when we are out reaching and trying to brace ourselves.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, mine was my tailbone, and it hurt really bad. So add that to the list of injuries that you don't want to have to experience. So, I mean, one more thing here. I mean, what's your maybe one or two more tips to avoid really getting hurt? I thought it was interesting. We might have talked about this, but when you were talking about the way people can walk, is it called like a penguin walk, or is there's something along those lines? Like, what's it called and how do we do it?
A penguin walk is perfect because that allows us to do those short, small steps, being careful and keeping our center of gravity above us. And whenever we walk normal, we push forward. This way you're taking those little baby steps, hands out, as we balance. So that's really the ideal way.
There you go. All right, helping us this go around, but I'm sure we're going to see another winter weather event here in Georgia, so we'll certainly be prepared the next go around. Dr. Anup Sharma with United Healthcare Georgia. Dr. Sharma, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Well done. Thank you. Stay safe, everyone.
And you. Our time now is 11:48, and coming up, we have Paul Milliken in the house, and he's been showing off your viewer pictures and your videos, and they are so good. So stick around to see what Paul's showing us this go around. Welcome back, everyone. All right, how about some pictures with Paul? That is what we're going to call this.
Hashtag pictures with Paul. Yeah.
Yes, it's perfect. Paul Milliken is joining us now. Okay, so you have gotten some amazing pictures, some amazing videos.
Yeah.
Our viewers have been submitting these, like tons of our viewers, right?
Like 8,000. That's what we're talking about here. So first of all, thank you guys. Not only is it just good content and interesting to show, but it's nice to know people are doing okay. You know what I mean? Like it just lets us know that you guys are out there, you're doing okay, you're making it through, and we like to know that. So we appreciate it. Elise, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I got some good stuff. We got a mix of serious and not so serious, and we're going to start with a serious one. This is coming out of the Persimmon community. Katie sent this in. It's actually a smoking power line in that area because this is what we've been seeing, and this is an issue we'll be dealing with today, as our Fox 5 Storm team has been talking about here. We got some strong winds out there, right? So winds are going to have the trees swaying around. So that's kind of a scary one right there, but a good reminder that we're still sort of in the middle of this situation. And next up, look at this one. This is out of Dawsonville, a tree down on an RV. Amazingly, the person who sent this in said their RV isn't damaged.
Are you serious?
I don't know how that's possible, but they said no damages, which is great. But that looks bad. It certainly looks worse than it actually is. So we're happy about that. Now, I like this because Melissa Stanley, she's trying to make the best of it. She says, Paul, we don't have to trim our butterfly bush this year because it just sort of fell apart on her. So you know what? Melissa,
didn't it?
we appreciate your attitude, all right? We like the optimism. That's what we do here in Atlanta and North Georgia, all right? This one I thought was just really pretty and also kind of illustrative of, again, so this is Beth Williams out of Clarksville, but look at the ice. I mean, the reflection off of that. It's very pretty, but imagine how slick that is, right? Walking out there, imagine how slick that is. That's the kind of situation a lot of us woke up to this morning with temperatures below freezing. Now, of course, we got to get some sledding in, right? Because that's what we do
But
here.
don't you love how folks didn't even need a bunch of snow?
No, you don't even need snow. Okay, what you need are skim boards, and that's what they have. This is Chris out of Lula, and I love my friends in Lula, and they are on skim boards. So it's making full year use out of things that otherwise you might only take to the lake or the beach. But you know what? You pull them out in the winter.
Awesome.
And you slide down icy grass. He really, I was a little nervous when I saw the flip down there, but it looks like it was a safe landing. So we're happy about that. And then we've shown a lot of animals, and I just thought, you know, we haven't shown any horses this morning. This is out of Clarksville. What a beautiful shot, right? Clarksville's such a great town, great people up there. Beth Williams, I love that. Thank you so much for sending in that picture. It looks very wintry there.
Speaking of that.
Speaking of that, does this look wintry? This does not put you in the mind of going to the beach. This is out of Kennesaw, sent by Denise. Do you think you might know who that Denise is?
Is that Denise Dillon?
Denise Dillon submitting pictures. See, this is what we like. When we get our reporters on like triple duty, all right? She's working hard enough and then sending in pictures. But I thought that was pretty. I mean, and look at the thickness of the icicles, too. You look at how thick those icicles are. Yeah, just a good illustration of how cold it was. How great is this, right? Let me tell you, some of our viewers are National Geographic level photographers. You should be being paid for photographs like this. So this one's over at Peachtree Corners. That's Jim. Just a beautiful shot, right, of the bird feeders out there.
I wonder what they use. Jim, let us know what you use.
Absolutely, absolutely. We all need lessons. How you took it, that's for, and it looks like mealworms in there. Those apparently are working, the mealworms. So I love that. This is another one of his. Right?
Wow.
That's what I'm saying. Jim, if you're watching, I'll come to a gallery showing whenever you have one because your photos. And he sent in like 6 or 7. So hopefully whoever's doing this a little bit later sends in some of those photos and pulls them up. This one Ashley sent in. This is Easton and Parker. Look at how thick that ice is. I mean, they're having fun, which I love. But remember, like when things start to melt through the afternoon, you got a lot of sun out there, so a lot of solar radiation. Like big chunks of ice could be coming off your roof and stuff. So you got to watch out. But I'm glad they're handling it. Easton and Parker. That's a good reminder, Paul. They could start like an ice removal business. Those two guys right there, because they look like they're doing a good job. Now here we go. This is it. This is the one, Elise Edie. This is out of Good Hope. This is Sue. Sue sent this in. Okay, so this is Barbara Mathis, 79 years old, being pushed by her son-in-law, Berlin Criswell. And I want to let it replay. We're going to unpack this.
Come on.
Look what she's on. That's an upside-down table. That's an upside-down table. Now, Verlin looks a little too enthusiastic to be pushing his mother-in-law on a table straight towards trees, okay? So I just want to say the whole family seems to be having fun. Sue, you get the A+ for the day. Thank you for videoing this and sending it in.
Oh my
out of
gosh,
Good Hope. Barbara
that's the
Mathis,
winner.
79 years old. Look, Elise, when I'm 79, you fully have my permission to put me in a table and push me down an ice-covered hill.
You know we will.
Good.
And
you know, it'll be right here on Fox Local because we're not going anywhere.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you like what you see, maybe you've got some great videos and pictures to share. Then if you look at that QR code that's on your screen, all you have to do is scan that, right?
Yep. Yeah, super easy. You scan that. It lets you upload pictures, videos. I think you can upload up to 6 pictures, and it goes straight to the iPad, and we can put it right. It's so easy.
So we're showing them on air, but they're also getting posted on our social media platforms as well. So certainly worth it if you've got something. But pictures with Paul, this needs to be a thing every single day.
As long as we have Barbara Mathis, that's my, I want her in everything because I love how happy she is to be going down a hill on an upside-down table.
That is something else.
Yep.
Paul, thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you at noon. Take care.
Fox 5 News at noon starts right now.
Now at noon, we are drying out from this weekend's ice storm, but a cold weather advisory is still in effect for North Georgia. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Alex Whitler. We've seen several reports of trees coming down, and we've had our crews out all across Georgia checking on conditions all morning and well into the afternoon. And that's why it is time for an update, another live look outside at what the weather is doing right now at just about 12 on the dot. This is a look from our Fox 5